Alright, this week, I gave myself a challenge. Create 10 rules for mastering genre and storytelling. And it can't be the usual shallow takes I hear. It must be principles that actually help you use genre the way it's meant to be used. Oh, and I'm gonna play some video games while I do it since, 1, I really need to relax given how much work I do on top of producing these, and 2, I need some B-roll, but I don't feel like doing the same level of visual work I've done in the past for videos. If you want to know why I've scaled back this year, here's a preview image from what I've been working on. I'll discuss it in much greater detail in the coming month. Regardless, for me to pull off this feat with 10 rules, I'll need to define what genre is, so here's a simplified, no-nonsense definition. Genre is a tool for expectation management between storyteller and audience. Or, as I like to see it, genre is a code of expectations that binds the creator and the consumer. As I've said in the past, I view it as a promise. The reason I call it a promise goes back to the reason why genre exists to begin with. When it comes down to it, audiences participate in a story to experience a specific emotional journey. Audiences need a way to know what kind of emotional or intellectual experience they're investing time in. Creators need a way to signal their intent. And communities need a way to discuss and refine their shared tastes. To, basically, share art coherently. Thus, we create genres. Genres frame the interpretation, and it creates rules of engagement. It's what shapes an audience's anticipations and payoffs. With that in mind, I should say that mastery of genre is mastery of expectation management. Also, I'd say that every story is technically multi-genre. Why? Because the human experience is layered. To quote Alan Moore, "My experience of life is that it is not divided into genres. It's a horrifying, romantic, tragic, comical, science fiction cowboy detective novel. You know, with a bit of pornography if you're lucky." Now, before you stop there or start wondering what the point of a genre is, or where to go with this. Okay, every good story is multi-genre at the level of emotional texture. A romance can still have moments of fear. A thriller can have comedy. Romance? Well, honestly, romance is a genre hitchhiker or maybe even a parasite. It can go with practically anything. Whatever, we're getting off track. When we use genre, what we're often talking about is the dominant promise of the emotional journey. Alan Moore was right that life doesn't fit into neat boxes. But what people need when navigating a story is a compass that points them through the blend. I like to think of it as the lens of life. It helps you focus on a specific slice of human experience, a deliberate choice in what the audience sees and feels about the emotional journey. The other aspects shape the texture and nuance of the dominant lens. When mistakes are made with understanding the dominant promise, you make mistakes like... Well, good example. I watched this video recently on the Apothecary Diaries with this YouTuber characterizing it as a mystery and saying it's an atypical one since it didn't fit their original expectations. And I'm like, the issue here is that you think it's a mystery because mystery solving occurs. It's a drama first and foremost. The mystery is subordinate to the drama as opposed to the drama being subordinate to the mystery. So, anyway, having gotten all that down, I went about making these 10 rules. Tell me what you think of these in the comments if you want to discuss these. This is all my theories for stories after all, since that's what everybody is doing at the end of the day. Theories. And now, without further ado, Rule 1. Always define the emotional contract first. I actually got asked about this by someone not too long ago, given my whole story scaffolding method had people defining the primary emotional experience they want the audience to have instead of defining the genre. Here's my logic. Stories exist to create an emotional or intellectual experience in the audience. Genre is the toolset you use to promise, shape, and deliver that experience. Thus, you must start by knowing what you want the audience to feel. Only then do you choose genre, because genre is the means to that end, not the end itself. Think of the process like this: goal, journey, genre. So, first, with goal, I have a whole list of 15 core emotional experiences you can work from to make defining it easy. As I mentioned before, I'd start there. For journey and figuring out how to accomplish the end result, I've made an article on the formula for it. I can also build more in depth if you want to know more about anything in specific. Ask me in the comments if anything you want to know about. Anyway, once you have that, you can define the genre based on what best serves it. Now, when it comes to the defining part, I recommend using my 10 narrative genres, something I refined and feature multiple subgenres to. The basic idea is, you know what, I'll come back to that later on. It's important to some other stuff I'll talk. Regardless of what you do, this will create a compass for you to always come back to. At any rate, in practice, this is the difference between saying, I want to write a fantasy because I love magic systems, and I want the reader to feel wonder and dread at the same time. Fantasy with dark elements will help frame that. The reason I mention that specifically is because it represents a common pitfall I've seen with choosing genre first, then trying to force meaning into it. This is what leads to shallow imitations of genres. The other two issues this helps avoid is letting external expectations define your genre, chasing trends, and confusing emotional contract with surface mood. For example, let's go with saying you want your work to be dark and gritty, for example. That's a mood, not a contract. It's not the same as saying you promise tension, heartbreak, catharsis, etc. Now, having said all that, it goes well into Rule 2. Rule number 2. Genre is the frame, not the painting. A frame defines the boundary of a picture and guides the viewer's eye. People aren't there to see the frame, though. They're there for the painting, the art. The same is true for genre. It shapes how the audience enters the work. It sets initial expectations. It supports the work. But it's not the work. It guides. It doesn't define. Many writers don't get this, so they build stories around genre conventions rather than a clear emotional journey or vision. This is what results in generic stories that feel like they're filling a template as opposed to expressing a vision. The story often becomes a collection of tropes instead of a coherent experience, and audience disengage. They'll feel like they've seen it before, because they have. Don't be a servant to genre. Don't worship it. Don't copy its surface elements without understanding the emotional core the genre is meant to serve. Just choose the best frame that fits your story. Rule 3. Understand the core promise before subverting. You can't break a promise you never understood. You can't subvert expectation if you don't know what they were expecting in the first place. This is something that grinds my gears big time with all the people out there obsessed with subversion and deconstruction and blah blah blah. Subversion without mastery is just confusion. Before you subvert a genre, you must be clear about the genre's promise, and more importantly, you must ask, what will happen emotionally if I break that promise? Will they feel surprised? Will they feel surprised? Betrayed? Delighted? Cheated? Whatever it is, you must take that into account. And then, more importantly, you must plan how you will guide the audience to the new emotional journey so they stay with you. Seriously, don't subvert without replacement. If you break the promise, but don't offer something in its place, you're screwed. Rule number 4. Blend genres with purpose. This is a little something I learned first from extra credits over, it's been some time. For the record, if anybody does wish to know, I'm a millennial. I figure that might be clear given some of the stuff I tend to reference, or probably even the game I'm playing right now, depending on what it is. Anyway, genre blending without purpose fractures the experience. It can make tone swings feel jarring as opposed to layered. An audience doesn't care about how many genres you blend in. It cares how cohesive it all feels. So, going from your dominant genre promise first, any secondary genre must support or heighten the primary. Then make sure to design the blend so the audience can follow the emotional arc. Don't yank them from one to another. Weave them together. Rule 5. Genre is about anticipation, not labels. What you call your story doesn't really matter. Or, genre isn't about what you call it. Death Note, for example, counts as a shonen instead of a seinen. Or, heck, there's the entire convo there between the two. I find those labels and discussions useless. What matters is what the audience expects to feel, see, and experience as they engage with the genre. Your genre's name exists to prime the audience's imagination and emotional state. Emotional state, and interpretive lens. Don't get caught up in marketing tags and all that. The true power is in manipulating how people experience your story. Focus on using it as a tool for psychological engineering, not packaging. Now, that said, when it does come to packaging, Rule 6. Respect genre's role in audience targeting. When choosing a genre, you're choosing who you're speaking to, what emotional journey they want, what community or niche you're stepping into. If you ignore this, you're confusing your audience. Or, worse, you aim for the wrong audience. It's 100% possible for your work to generally be good at what it does and not click with someone just because they're not your target audience. This is the beacon side of genre. And if anybody is confused about me saying this here after the previous part, view it basically as layers. You've dual responsibilities. So, do your best to align your story with the proper label to market it for the audience you seek. Ask yourself, who is my audience? What emotional experience do they seek? I have a whole other video on this about audience targeting that I'll link at the end if you want more on that. Rule number 7. Never confuse genre with setting. Genre equals emotional promise plus journey. Setting equals the world in which that journey happens. Genre tells the audience how to feel, while setting tells the audience where it happens. This is why I divide genre into narrative expectations and environmental aesthetics. For the record, we'll be going more into the later half in the next video, where I should finally start tackling how to do world building with my methods. Anyway, this rule exists because there's a trap that's easy to fall into. It goes like this. It's set in space, so it's a sci-fi. There are swords and castles, so it's fantasy. It's set in the 1920s, so it's historical fiction. None of these define the emotional contract. A story in space could be a horror, mystery, romance, comedy. Fantasy stuff can be crime stories like a heist, mystery stories, romance again, etc. A historical setting could host any genre. The setting is decoration. If you forget this, you could end up writing stories that look like the genre on the surface, but don't deliver the emotional experience the genre promises. Or a common frustration I've noticed for those who mess with fantasy in particular, you don't actually know what you want to do with the narrative because there is no narrative. Just a collection of ideas in a world you want to play around with. I'm not against you having fun in your world. I'm just pro clarity, so you're more likely to accomplish your goal as a creator. And when marketing, I highly recommend labeling based on the emotional contract above all else, instead of stuff like location or props. Certain ones you can mention, but the actual emotional promise is what matters most. For the actual revised list of my 10 narrative genres, it is as followed. Romance, mystery, thriller, horror, comedy, drama, tragedy, adventure, crime, and erotica. As for why it's only these 10, I have 3 criteria which should be met. 1. Narrative expectation. It sets up a promise. This is the emotional experience you're here for. I mean, it should be painfully obvious on this part given all I've said already. 2. A structural engine. It provides a recognizable plot rhythm or shape that delivers that experience. And 3. An audience contract. It defines what the audience wants resolved and how they'll feel at the end. That's why you don't see me mention things like slice of life here. In that one, there's no built-on structural tension or resolution. It's more of a narrative lens than anything else. Or it's why action isn't included in the list. Action is a tempo or beat. It can show up in horror, adventure, crime, etc. But it doesn't carry a narrative on its own. Even if we grab what some might call an action film, let's use John Wick for example, if we were to categorize it, it's a blend between crime and thriller. Crime is the cleanest fit since it's all about navigating a world defined by codes, criminal organizations, and power struggles. The emotional tension comes from John navigating and defying the rules of the system. And the entire journey centers on leverage, loyalty, betrayal, and retribution. That gives you way more to work with as a creator than just saying, my story's action. And yes, it also includes elements of tragedy and all that with John Wick. I'm just saying crime is the predominant genre. Regardless, those are the 10. There are subtypes among the 10. I've worked it out. Ask in the comments if you want to know more. Rule 8. Make your genre promise early. The technique I made up a year ago based on this rule is a little something I call the genre anchor. I based it off of the rule of 10, which I've mentioned for years now across videos. The audience wants to scratch the itch of things as soon as possible. Find a way to deliver on some genre goods or show you're working in alignment with it as soon as possible, preferably in the opening scene. This is another thing I've already done a whole video on, so I recommend going to watch that one after this if you want a more in-depth breakdown. Rule 9. Test your genre clarity. Seeing as genre is emotional contract, what you think your genre is doesn't matter. It's what your audience experiences as they engage with the work. If your audience can't tell what emotional journey they're on, there's clearly some form of miscommunication of the contract. This rule exists to force you to reality check your work. To step out of your own head and get feedback. For this, I recommend asking your alpha readers early on what kind of experience they feel like they're getting. Like, let's say in the first 10% of the story. If you can, don't tell them the genre ahead of time. See what signals they naturally pick up. If there's a mismatch, see what you can do to resolve that. Rule 10. Genre is a conversation, not a commandment. Genre is a convo between the creator who uses it, the audience who consumes it, and the culture which changes things over time. Consider your relationship with genre. I recommend treating it as a tool above all else, and being a craftsman. Genre purists tend to create formulaic works while anarchists reject it entirely, creating incoherent messes. So, study your genre. Know what the great works in your genre do to deliver on the emotional contract. Know what those that fail do to deliver on it wrong. Then decide how your work participates in the conversation. What do you honor? What do you challenge? Etc. Make choices. Don't blindly follow things because that's how it's done. And don't reject it because you're afraid of being predictable. Engage with it. Control how you use it. So yeah, hopefully my rules can help you navigate genre wisely. Tell me what you think of this as, well, I'm shaking off a recent funk I felt and I think I overall accomplished my personal challenge I set for myself with this one. Like the video if it helped, blah blah blah, world building next, see you in that video.